started, you may want to drop off now. Um, and with that, we will go ahead with the topic of discussion, which is Microsoft FileShares public preview. It's a new service that is being launched uh, uh, regarding Azure Files. So what we're going to do is we are going to take a look at the provisioned V2 billing model for Azure Files because this is the evolution or what we call it, this based on this model, this service, this new service is based on this model. So we're going to do a few minutes understanding this model, what that is, what it brings to the table. It is in GA for certain HDD and I think SSD. And we are going to talk about how this Azure file comes into picture and Microsoft File Shares comes into picture and what's included in public preview. And we will do a few demos as well. Okay. So first of all, the provision V2 billing model for Azure Files basically allows you to set three things: capacity, IOPS, and your throughput. Okay, so you can set it at a file share level because if you remember before, file shares were created out of a storage account. You have throughput for the storage account, and then you are paying whatever throughput capacity that you are using, and that's what you are paying for. Okay, not anymore with this provision V2 billing model. You can create file shares which have their own capacity, and the good thing is um, that you have kind of a dynamic scaling. And let me explain that in a second. So basically, let's take a look at what is some of the key features of V2 billing model. Number one, you are provision V2 billing model. Number one, you are creating these um, Azure file shares independently. I mean, you have their own capacity, their own throughput, their own IOPS, and then that gives you predictable pricing. You know what your price is going to be instead of like, okay, because I was using high IOPS that time, it was high, but then low, all of that. No, you can monitor it. And the big thing is, it gives you IOPS bursting. And this is one of the key items that we want to talk about here. The way bursting works, like, let's say that you set a certain IOPS, certain capacity level for your storage account. And then you are, let's say it's 100, okay? And you are using 80. Provision is 100, you're using 80. So whatever you're not using goes into a bucket. Think of it, it's your savings account, IOPS savings account. Goes in there till you stay below your provision
Mhm.
IOPS. But then you get hit a workload that needs more IOPS than provision. It's going to start drawing those IOPS. At that time, you are going to be in the declining mode where it's going to start taking credits or IOPS from your savings account and start using that. Okay, that's that. So at that moment, you are using whatever you saved to meet this bursting demand. Okay, and then it allows you to burst at a certain level where you get charged for bursting if you are out of all the credits. But then if you hit capacity limit, whatever your bursting limit, then it's gonna start kind of doing this. Basically, if your quota limit reach, then of course you will get the quota error. But it allows you to do burst to a certain level. And think of it, if as your workload is using IOPS more or less than provision, it will go into bucket as you are below the provision threshold and out of the bucket as you're above the provision threshold. So that kind of gives you kind of a credit-based mechanism to use uh, your capacity. So that's kind of a big advantage of this model, Azure File Provision V2. It's in GA for a number of services. Okay, so the reason I want to talk about it because Azure Microsoft file shares are built on top of this model. So let's here. Okay, so for some reason, okay, and by the way, as I said, how it works is provisioning, bursting, IOPS. Okay, and these are the file storage that you can use. So it has to be file storage, and it has to be of this kind, with which you can use provision v2 with classic file shares. Just keep that in mind. This is for classic file shares. And we will talk about the Microsoft.file storage in file shares in a second. So just to be on the safe side and just to remove all the confusion, let's first look at how it works with classic. So first of all, what you're going to do is you go in, and this is my Azure resource group. I'm going to create a storage account. And okay, let's 1 second. Let me just go back here and create one more time a storage account. For some reason, whenever you run a demo, this thing tends to slow down, so just bear with me. So what you're gonna see is as soon as we select a file as an option, you will see V2 provision option will pop up. You will have to select that option to take advantage of the V2 storage account. So that's that. Uh, okay. Give me 1 second. Let me just show you a storage account. So this is the storage account that I have. As you can see, the file share billing is provisioned V2. So once you create that storage account, that has to be the billing model. Otherwise, you cannot create file shares. And let me go in here and we will create a file share here. So once again, some reason this is not cooperating, but that's okay. Let's wait a second. Once it come up, and once you create a file share in that, it will show you how you can set up. Okay, so let's quickly go in and create a file share. Okay, so as you can see, so I can give any name in the file share. This is the storage size, and that's where. So let's say I wanna more storage, so I'm gonna do just keep an eye on IOPS and throughput. Okay, as soon as I do that, the value below will change. So now they have changed. Okay, and I can change these value manually as well. Just keep in mind I have to stay between this. Okay, I cannot go beyond that. That's the maximum throughput. So with that, the maximum size of my storage account can be 256 terabyte. Okay, so that's the advantage of using um, taking advantage of the provision v2 file share. So hopefully, if I just want to show you the creation experience. So if I go into a storage account, let's see quickly. Any questions? You will see once we go into the storage account. I think you will see like you have to create use the file storage and then come back to it. Um, okay, so I mean, it's taking its sweet time, so we'll come back to it in a second. So this is with the classic. Classic file shares with Microsoft storage that supports provisioned V2. And now let's come to here where it is showing what is the provision model availability, V2 model availability with different. You have classic file shares, and then you have file shares, which is the first uh, kind of the top level resource provider called Microsoft.FileShares. Currently, just keep in mind, Microsoft File Shares only support SSD and it only support NFS. It does not support SMB. If you want to
Hmm,
use yeah, go ahead, please. Question.
weird. Oh no, I'm sorry.
So, okay. So basically, you don't have to, if you are using NFS, you have to use these new file share. If you want to use SMB, you have to use the classic file share. Okay. So that's that. And what about this new file share? So think of it. I mean, if you may remember when we were, and what's the first thing you're going to ask is what's new with these file shares? First of all, this is a top level resource. You don't create a storage account, you just create the file share. So before, I mean, in the last example that we saw, yes, we can create a file share, but we, in the classic case, we have to have a storage account. You have a storage account, you create file share. Yes, you can designate capacity over there, but just keep in mind there are certain things which are tied to that storage account. For example, private endpoint. Let's say that you want to do service endpoints, okay? How you do it? I mean, there may be different file share that you want to control, and then, but storage account is still the same. Okay, so that's the challenge which is addressed by Microsoft.FileShares. And I'm gonna make an analogy. If you remember, in when Azure started with virtual machines and all, you used to have unmanaged disk, or disk used to be based on storage account. You have to create a storage account, create a disk on top of it, and then attach it to a VM. And there were challenges where we may have too many disks sitting on the same storage account and draining the IOPS, and there were issues. And then you have to juggle like how we move disk around and best practices or recommended practices, things like that. Then magic happens. Managed disk came. With managed disk, what it did, you have a disk, top level disk resource where you assign, okay, how many capacity I need, how many throughput, how much throughput I need. That's it. You use that, and you don't care about the storage account behind the scene. It is all handled by Microsoft. So there must be a storage account behind the scene, but you don't have to worry about it. Okay. Microsoft is managing it. You are just worrying about your managed disk. Your That's all. Same thing here. This is kind of a managed file share, you know, where you don't care about the storage account or is it whatever it is. You just say, I'm gonna create a file share and I'm going to use that file share in my application in virtual machine and things like that. And I'm going to create this file share with certain capacity. So once again, it's based on provision V2 billing model, but it's a top level resource. You create it, and that is not tied to a storage account. You can create a private endpoint to it. You can create a service endpoint to it. All of that. That support, just keep in mind, it is only for a few regions at the moment since it's public preview, but it will be available in other regions as we know. I mean, as since it's a public preview, so the support is not there everywhere, but it's going to be available in different region as we progress towards GA. Okay. So any questions, folks? Okay. So let's take a look here. What is First of all, as I said, this is a independent resource. The resource provider name is Microsoft.FileShare. It's a top level resource. As I said before, you control access to the resource. You as a share, you control it. It has its own billing. So no, I mean nobody has to play like juggle like bill back. You say, okay, an app team comes in, they said we need 10 file shares, you create them 10 file shares, they are responsible for that billing. Okay, since they're using it. No matter like you have to go at the storage account level and then see how much cost it's occurring and all that. No, it's all the goodies that you have, for example, in regards to bursting, and then all of that applies here. Nothing is taken. I mean, all the things that V2 provisioning model has, they are applicable here. Okay, same thing, bursting as your capacity need increase, and if you start using the I mean, as your IOPS go above the provision level, you will start using from your saving account of IOPS. If there are any saving account, as you are below IOPS, below the provision level, you start saving those IOPS. So all of those things apply. The only thing is you don't, and the good thing is you don't have to worry about underlying storage account. It's all managed for you. Okay. So let's take a look at okay. So first of all, quick context switch. I just want to show you for 1 second how the storage account works. So let's go into the storage account. We are creating a storage account. Just want to show you. This is the classic storage account. Okay. So just bear with me. I mean, we are going the classic storage account with V2 provisioning billing model. Okay. Since it did not load in time, so I don't want to spend time watching, the screen. So this is the storage account. First thing we have to do is we have to use the storage type. I'm going to use Azure Files. As soon as I do that, look, there are multiple options appear. You have pay as you go, build based on usage, or provisioned V2. Okay, so you can use standard or premium, or and in terms of file share billing, you can use pay as you go or V2, and that's it. And by the way, as soon as you select provision V2, that's the only one you can use. You cannot use with the other option. So you have to use this. Okay, and you can use geo redundant or whatever. So that's my point. So basically, that's how you will create a classic storage account that you can use for file shares based on classic storage, which abide by provision V2 billing model. Okay. Now let's come to the first party file shares, which is this service. This is currently in public preview, just been announced maybe a week ago, or maybe a little more than a week ago. And as you can see, this is a first party resource, file shares. Okay. Once you type in and let's see what is the creation experience. So as you can see here, there is no name of a storage account. Okay. I can go in and once this thing finish loading, and we can, I think, yes, that's the one, file share demo. So this is the one, and I'm gonna call it demo share 03. Um, this is that. And by the way, as I said, currently it only support SSD and NFS. That's the only two things that are supported with it. Of course, in the future we may see other support coming in. So keep that in mind. Okay, and that's where you can set the capacity. You can set it to maximum, and that's where you are seeing what is the provision IOPS. And as you can see, the in this case you have higher throughput, max higher, almost double that we saw with the classic one, and max IOPS as well. And for example, I just keep in mind if I change it to, let's say, 4096, you will see that all of these things change accordingly, and you can manually change it. You can say, I need more throughput. I'm not satisfied with it. My workload is very throughput hungry. I need more IOPS, more throughput, and so I need to increase it. You can increase it, and you will be billed according to that. And we talked all about the bursting when you are saving IOPS, when you're below the provision IOPS level, and you are using IOPS when you are above that level. All of that applies. So that's pretty much that. I mean, in terms of the creation experience, um, that's all. That's all there is to it. I mean, then there is, oh, by the way, very important point, networking. Yes. So why I want to show it to you now, your networking is happening at the file share level. So no longer you are doing at the storage level and then, you know, working it out like if you have multiple file share and setting, service endpoint to make sure there is no overlap, all of that. No, sir. Everything is now at the file share level. There must be a storage account somewhere, we know, but we don't are not concerned about it. Okay. So I'm not going to go through the creation experience. I already have a storage account. Oh, sorry, file share, not a storage account. So this is my uh, file share created that I have created based on the public preview. As you can see, it's SSD, it's NFS, and this is currently in public preview. These are the settings. So what are you want to lock it? What is size and performance? So it shows you size and performance. Just keep in mind one thing very important. Let's say that your workload uh, requirement has increased and you have started, you increase the IOPS, okay? And then your workload was going through. Then for some reason, your IOPS, you made some improvements. You don't have that many IOPS requirement. You can bring those IOPS down as well. So you can bring the size down. But just keep in mind, it takes it has to be after 24 hours. So let's say I increase the size to at a higher level. Before I go down, I have to wait for a 24-hour cooling period. Okay, so this thing is not kind of cooperating with us, but you get the idea. I mean, refresh the entire screen. Let's see if that helps. Okay, so while this thing is refreshing, any questions, folks? Okay, so just want to do a quick recap and we will come back to this demo in a second. As you know that um, Microsoft has just announced and released in public preview a new first party resource called Microsoft.FileShares. This is for Azure Files. Now, Azure Files has become a first first top level resource. So you don't have to create a storage account to create a file share. You can just directly create a file share. This is based on the Azure Files V2 provisioning model, and this service is currently in public preview. The support currently is only for SSD and NFS. If you need SMB support, you can go with the classic storage. So for that, I just want to show you this kind of a diagram one more time. This chart. If you are going with the classic storage account, okay, you can use SMB and NFS, and if you are using Microsoft.FileShares, you can only at this moment you can use SSD and NFS, and all of these support bursting. They support ability to modify capacity, IOPS, and throughput. Okay, and the advantage that you get with Microsoft.FileShares is that it allows you to yeah. Okay, so came up for a second. What it allows you to do is allows you to access or address these resources directly in a sense that if you are creating a virtual service endpoints or private endpoint you create to the resource in regards to build back, you don't have to go into some kind of arithmetics to see how many IOPS everybody use. You can just create this first party you have whatever resource that you have created file shares. You can just go in and you can do build based on that because that's the only thing that an app team now care about. They don't have to worry about the storage account. So this is what I'm saying. I mean, you can change the capacity. It's 128 GB, and you can change the provision IOPS, throughput, all of that. Just keep in mind, if you increase it, it can decrease only once every 24 hours. Just keep that in mind. So there's a 24 hours cooling period to have to use. Okay, hopefully this is working now. So we go into the networking. Yes, I have enabled networking. I can add, as you can see, I have added VMs as a service endpoints. At this, and you can create private endpoint as well. Okay. Um, so this is, by the way, private endpoints are not supported in every region. They are only supported in certain region, I think East Asia. So you can, but once this thing becomes available, then they will be supporting in every region. And you can monitor it. Okay. So all of that is monitor how many IOPS you are using, all of that you can you can monitor it. You can monitor IOPS. Like look at this. This is the burst IOPS. So provision IOPS is 3,000, but you can burst up to 10,000. So this is important to note. If you think your workload is going to go beyond that, that you may want to go the higher provision IOPS, because if your burst may be above 10,000, then you may have some issues. Okay. So with that, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Any questions, folks? Please
Yeah,
speak up.
yeah. While you're on that screen, if you could go back, does that change the skew as you increase the IOPS? Is that something we can see in the calculator right now? Like provisioned IOPS, say you've got 3K and we go
Yes,
up to 10K. How does that
yes.
change the price and the skew?
It will increase the price definitely. So yeah, you can go to the calculator and you can see how much IOPS and capacity. Yes. So the SKU remains the same. It's Azure File SKU, but you're just changing the size. So of course that will be a higher price. So just quick guidance. That's a very good point, John. If you have a simple application, and maybe dev and test, you may want to stick with the classic storage accounts without provision IOPS. Okay, because I mean that you're testing, you're not testing, you maybe not using, so you why pay the amount? Because remember, this will charge you for whatever you have provisioned. But if you have a consistent workload that that requires certain IOPS constantly, then you should go with provision IOPS. I hope I answered the question. Any other question? We have 1 minute to go. Okay. If there are no other questions, thank you very much for joining, and I hope to see everybody in another Power Lunch next week. And have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend.
Thank you, Naveed.
Thank you.